reminds me that we do have a chicken festival coming up in January. There is a flyer in the back when you leave. You might pick that up. It's not a motel event, but it's a River and Prairie Story Weavers event. And we've been doing that for 26 years. So it'll be the 26th Chicken Festival. Bring a chicken story and a bucket of chicken. All right. Our next storyteller is Rich White. Now, he was on this stage last year in Kansas City. And he's with us. Oh, and he's got a chicken shirt.
I really didn't know what Gary's story was going to be.
How to pick up chicks. Ah. Is this high enough for you? Or deep enough? Rich White.
Hey. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Did you ever notice that scientists sometimes try to make things better when they should just leave well enough alone? Back in the early days of gene research, the folks down at Texas A&M University created a new breed of chicken. They added turkey genes for bigger breasts. Not a bad idea, you know? But then they added porpoise genes for intelligence. Now I ask you, do we really need smarter chickens? And they added Texas Longhorn genes for, well, actually, I don't know why they added Texas Longhorn chickens. Maybe just because it was Texas. They called these new chickens Texas Leghorns. And these are the chickens my great Aunt Flo wanted when she decided to get into the chicken business. But you had to drive clear down to Texas to the hatchery to get these chickens, and Aunt Flo was getting along in years. So she asked me and my cousin Dave, who just happens to have one blue eye and one brown eye. She asked me and my cousin Dave to go down to Texas and make a chicken delivery for her. Well, we get the hatchery down there at Steep Holler, Texas. They load us up with 15 boxes of 100 chicks each in the back seat. They might have mentioned something about flimsy boxes, and they sent us on our way. Now, I'll admit, I was driving too fast up that winding road over one of the biggest hills in the state of Texas. When we rounded a bend, and there, coming down the middle of the road towards us, was a truckload of chickens. Well, I jerked the wheel to right to avoid a collision, but the car went off the side of the road and down a steep embankment. We ended up on a road just down the hill from where we'd been. But that was the roughest, steepest quarter mile I have ever been on in a car. Those 15 flimsy boxes in the back seat, they all collapsed, freeing those 1,500 chicks. Well, Dave and I looked back there to survey the carnage we were sure we were going to find, but miraculously we only found 2 broken wings and 1 broken leg. And Dave, who'd been through EMT training, was able to set the broken bones and splint the broken limbs using some kitchen matches he happened to have in his pocket and a ball of kite string that had rolled out from under the seat on our trip down the hill. Once Dave got finished, he got out the map to see where this new road we were on went to. And when he did, one of the chicks jumped up on that map, started looking at it like he was studying the route we had marked. Now, this chick must have got a double shot of those Longhorn genes, because he was head and shoulders taller than the other chicks, kind of a mottled brown color, and this chick had spots on the side of his head that, well, they looked just pretty near like little horn nubs. And that chick jumped up on the dash-mounted rear-view mirror, sat right there in the middle, looking out the front like he was going to be our guide or something. And you know, it was so cute, we just started calling him Daniel Boone. Well, we got on our way, and we're coming up to our first turn, and Daniel goes up to the left side of the mirror and says, "Jeep, Jeep, Jeep." Now, I know it was pure coincidence, but he got that turn right. And it was even a bigger coincidence when he got the next 3 turns right, too. But like I say, I know it was pure coincidence. There is no way he could have remembered what our route was. Well, it was about this time I noticed we were getting a little low on gasoline. And then it hit me. We are not going to be able to get out of this car. We open a car door with 1,500 chicks running loose. I don't know if you've ever tried it or not. Some of them are sure to get out, and you'll never catch them once they get out running around. So we pulled into a full-service gas station to get our gasoline. And we talked the attendant into bringing us out 6 candy bars, 2 bottles of Pepsi Cola, 5 packs of Juicy Fruit chewing gum, because Dave was partial to Juicy Fruit, and 17 little bags of Fritos corn chips. Well, you know, the chicks looked hungry. We crumbled up the Fritos and spread them out so the chicks could get something to eat. And while we were stopped, we decided to switch drivers, which would have been a whole lot easier if we'd been able to get out of the car. But Dave and I we wiggled and we squirmed, and we finally got Dave in the driver's seat and me in the passenger seat. And I want to tell you, we did not squish a single little chick in the process, which was no easy feat. Well, we got back on the road, and we were making pretty good time. We crossed into Oklahoma, coming up to Bug Tussle. We hear this racket coming from the back seat as 987 voices in unison are chanting, Jeep, 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 Jeep. Well, I looked back there to see what in the world was going on, and there, standing in formation across the back seat, the chicks had spelled out Drink. I don't know. I guess it was the salty corn chips that made them thirsty. So we pulled into Sonic there in Bug Tussle. We didn't think it'd be a good idea to give Pepsi Cola to these little chicks, you know. So we ordered 5 large 7-Ups, an empty cup, and 9 extra straws. We pulled pinholes along the length of those straws, stuck the straws together end for end, stuck one end of that end of the empty cup, sealed all the joints with Juicy Fruit chewing gum, and had ourselves a drip watering system so those chicks could all get a drink. Well, once they got finished, we got back on the road. But we had not gone a quarter of a mile till Dave hit this big pothole. This pothole jarred us. Why, it jarred us so much, Dave's glass eye popped out and rolled on the floor. Now, we couldn't really see the eye because of all the chicks down there, but we could follow its path as the chicks were bowled over as it rolled back and forth. Well, sir, I finally caught the eye and was just getting ready to hand it back to Dave when we heard jeep, 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 coming from Daniel Boone. Dave looks up. What's he see? But another truckload of chickens. This one is stalled in the road right in front of us. Dave hit the brake with both feet. Chicks inside that car just flew everywhere. Dave's other glass eye popped out, but I caught it before it got to the floor. And remarkably, our car stopped before running into that truckload of chickens. Well, sir, I gave Dave back his blue eye and his brown eye, and he rinsed each one of them off in his mouth before popping it back in. Then he pulled the car over to the side of the road, and that's when we noticed the crack in the windshield. And there, laying on the dash, was Daniel Boone, unconscious and not breathing. Well, Dave put his EMT training to use again, quickly started mouth-to-beak resuscitation. And Daniel Boone, that tough little old bird, was conscious and breathing on his own again in no time. But his horn nub had cracked that windshield. Daniel had a goose egg the size of a kidney bean on the side of his head. I cut off a strip of Kleenex, and Dave expertly wrapped it around Daniel's head, sealed it in place with a little wad of Juicy Fruit chewing gum, and we laid Daniel out there in the open Kleenex box to recuperate. Well, we hadn't even had time to get back on our way when what should come barreling down the road but a runaway gasoline truck. The driver of the truck had time to jump out just before that truck crashed in to that truckload of chickens and exploded. Luckily, we had a blanket in the car we threw over all of our chicks so they didn't have to witness. as hundreds, if not thousands, of perfectly roasted chickens rained down out of the sky. We were there for better than 2 hours, while the town folks were there picking up those chickens and putting them in grocery sacks to take home. They finally got the road cleared. We made it back on our way. Made it the rest of the way to Aunt Flo's down there at Clark's Fork, just south of Boonville. I don't know if any of you know it or not. But when we got there, we asked Aunt Flo how we're supposed to get these chicks from the car into the chicken house without them getting loose and running all over the place. All Aunt Flo said was, "Chicken clucker!" and ran back in the house. Now, for any of you that don't already know, a chicken clucker is the yellow plastic chicken beak that fit over Aunt Flo's nose and mouth. And when Aunt Flo talked American into the chicken clucker, it translated whatever she said into chicken. Aunt Flo set the dial for Leghorn dialect, gave a few clucks, and those chicks all snapped to attention and started lining up in rows. Aunt Flo opened the back door, put up a board for a ramp, gave a few more clucks, and those chicks started marching down that ramp 2 by 2, led by Daniel Boone with his head all wrapped up, and Pegleg, who was now walking with a crutch made from the short end of a broken straw and held together with Juicy Fruit chewing gum. And they followed Aunt Flo right into that chicken house just as pretty as you please. Now, I'm sorry to report the chicken business did not work out as planned for Aunt Flo. By the time those chickens got big enough to sell, Aunt Flo was so attached to them she couldn't send them off to the slaughterhouse. Those chickens' genes were so messed up, none of them ever laid any eggs. And the expenses really started cutting into Aunt Flo's savings. And I'm not talking just chicken feed here. Those chicks learned to communicate better and they started asking for things. Things I don't think they made good use of. For example, I don't think a one of those chicks ever got past hunt and peck typing on those computers they had Aunt Flo buy. Though I have to admit, the royalties off that book they managed to peck out were a real godsend for Aunt Flo. And by the way, in case you're interested, I checked, they got a copy of the book here at the library. 1,500 Uses for Juicy Fruit Chewing Gum by Daniel Leghorn Boone. I thank you.